Good evening, everyone, and I hope that you and all your families are well. You're about to go on a tour of Ammunition Hill with Alon Wald. Alon's father, Rami, is one of 36 paratroopers that fell there in 1967 during an historic battle that enabled the liberation of Jerusalem. Alon was only 10 months old. This tour is dedicated to his father and all his comrades that fell Zichronam Livracha. It is also dedicated to those that survived the battle, became surrogate fathers to Alon and the other children of the fallen paratroopers, and kept the story of Ammunition Hill alive for generations that followed them. Foremost amongst them was Shimon Kahana, Zichrono Livracha, known as Kacha, who passed away in January of this year at the age of 85. Kacha served as a deputy battalion commander of the 55th Brigade, which captured Ammunition Hill from Jordan's Arab Legion after fierce fighting and led his troops into the Old City. Defense Minister Naftali Bennett said that Kacha was one of the greatest fighters of the IDF and was instrumental in shaping its core values, leading his troops, mission compliance, and non-abandonment of fighters in the field. But there is a more recent fight out of uniform, which Kacha will also be remembered for, saving Ammunition Hill as a memorial and educational site. Facing a lack of funding from the government, he turned to the JNF for help. And that partnership over the past decade has enabled the provision of a state-of-the-art museum and restoration of the outside areas and bunkers. I would like to thank our patron, Harry Triggerboff, for his significant and generous contribution to that effort, including the provision of an amphitheatre and beautifully landscaped gardens, where the many visitors and school groups can learn about what happened there and about those that made the ultimate sacrifice. You're about to hear some of their stories, of reservists called out of their civilian life to defend Israel and unexpectedly becoming a key part of Jewish history. Ultimately, the story of Ammunition Hill is a story of values, of those that fell, of those that lived to remember them, and of our people. Am Yisrael Chai.
Hello to everybody, all the way from Israel. Really, it is quite a challenge for me to try to squeeze 53 years of a nation, 53 years of my life, doing it in English. Not in my comfort zone. I do not have the trenches of Ammunition Hill and the state-of-the-art facilities at Ammunition Hill to assist me to try to convey an amazing story for you. Corona indeed was quite a challenge for all of us. The past month or so, Israel was celebrating and commemorating many anchor events like Holocaust Day, like Memorial Day, Independence Day, and now the forthcoming Jerusalem Day. They are so much different than the last years. For example, this was the first time ever I could not go to the Army Cemetery at Mount Herzl to pay homage to my late father, Captain Rami Wald. The first time I could not make a closure with him on his tombstone, talking to him, talking to myself, trying to see what we achieved the past year. And you are an amazing alternative for me. What I'm doing the past couple of weeks is sharing the stories, the visions, the memories, and the outcomes of lifetime of searching after meaning, and doing it with you. You are my brothers from the other side of the globe. I think you will be able to relate to what I'm talking. As I was heard, there's a guy, David Moses, the new South Wales president, who was also a paratrooper, 202, admired the battalion. So I feel like home. I feel that he will be able to understand what I'm talking about. And I will use some slides I've collected from you. Some of them are very rare. So listen to me. I'll try to be as clear as possible. It sounds better in Hebrew, but I assure you I'll do my best. And let's start with the story. 6-Day War. Some of you know it, heard about it, understand what was going on there. I'll try to make the resolution as clear as possible. 54 years ago, President Nasser from the south of Israel, the mighty president of the Egyptian army, made a vow, a promise all over the media. I'm going to come to Israel leading all the Arab armies, and I'm going to butcher you Jews. I'm going to finish whatever Hitler could not do. I'm going to kill you and throw you to the sea. The beginning of the story I'm going to share with you is a nation feeling like on the edge of annihilation, feeling like a second Holocaust is going to fall on our heads. And a stubborn, young, amazing nation decided to launch a preemptive strike, not to wait until the Arabs are going to come, and collided against 3, afterwards 4 Arab armies, north Syrians, east the Jordanians, south the Egyptians, and achieved something unbelievable, achieved something that not even one nation, not even one army in the modern era could achieve. Within 6 days, we tripled the size of Israel. We changed the Middle East for the better or for the worse, the way we know it today. We returned to the Holy Mountain, to the Kotel, the West Wall, to the Jewish Quarter. It was some sort of a miracle. And you can see here the map I've prepared for you. You can see the overall look of the Mediterranean, and you can see the famous corridor of Jerusalem. The status quo that was kept ever since 1948 was that Jerusalem could not be divided to two, could not be, nobody could decide who won over Jerusalem. So two generals in the end of the independence war divided the city to two. And the status quo was that there are two Jerusalems. 19 years from 1948 until the beginning of the Six-Day War, 8.5 kilometers divided Jerusalem, and it couldn't be helped. The Jewish quarters, the West Wall, the Holy Mountain, it was behind the lines. Ammunition Hill was located on the north side of Jerusalem, and you can see today it's a very impressive, surely thanks to the support of JNF over the years, very impressive location. But as far as I'm concerned, this was my childhood playground. Until today, we have there 300 meters of trenches and 40 bunkers intact, preserved exactly as my father and his friends, the paratroopers, found them while colliding at the dead of night of 5th of June 1967 in front of the Jordanian elite commander units of King Hussein, the Hussein tribe. They did not have any intelligence, they did not have any knowledge who are they facing. But what they achieved there is considered to be until today the pivotal battle that paved the way for entire nation to reunite Jerusalem. The old city is about 1,000 meters to the south from Ammunition Hill. A very strategically located place. What happened there is something that we consider to be nothing less than a miracle. Now, in order to begin the story of Ammunition Hill and of my life, you need to understand the shift entire nation shifted between edge of annihilation, 2 weeks of preparations, preemptive strike, and 2.5 days over Jerusalem, 6 days overall, the Six-Day War, and we came out victorious against all odds. The nation shifted from the edge of annihilation to an epic, amazing triumph against all odds. In the middle, there were stuck 182 bereaved families that nobody could deal with them now because everybody was rejoicing and tens of thousands of Jewish people were dancing in front of the Kotel all over the Jewish diaspora. They were marveling the reunification of Jerusalem. The story I'm going to share with you starts at the end of the war, and then I'm going to make beautiful links that you will understand what I'm talking about. But before this, trying to mediate the gap and the fact that you cannot go to Israel, we prepared specially a 9 minutes tour at Ammunition Hill, a virtual tour. So please have a look, see the things we created over the years, and at the end of the movie, I will carry on the most intimate resolution of my family, of my father, of my seeking for meaning. I hope you will find the widest common denominator I'm trying to convey to you. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to write them on the chat, and your guys will collect them from me. And at the end, there'll be a Q&A option. I'll be able to answer any question you might have. So enjoy the movie and see you later.
Hello to everybody. My name is Alon Wald. I'm speaking to you from the top of Ammunition Hill that lies 1,000 meters from the old city of Jerusalem to the north in Jerusalem in Israel. Thanks to the Corona ordeal, this is the best way I can bring Jerusalem to your Hello to everybody. My name is Alon Wald. I'm speaking to you from the top of Ammunition Hill that lies 1,000 meters from the old city of Jerusalem to the north in Jerusalem in Israel. Thanks to the Corona ordeal, this is the best way I can bring Jerusalem to your best understanding to your hearts, to make a bond, to make a link, to make you understand what happened in Jerusalem about 53 years ago. We are going to celebrate the reunification of Jerusalem in a very peculiar, weird, different way this year because of the corona. And we'll try to do it thanks to the Zoom and the internet in the most vivid and interesting way. Ammunition Hill. It commemorates one of the toughest, most difficult battles the paratroopers of the IDF ever conducted the past 72 years of our existence. And you need to understand that the story I'm going to reveal to you, that will start with a broader perspective and it will result eventually at the story of my family, of my own dear father who fell here 53 years ago, is really a very, very interesting story. And today, I'm not going to talk to you about sacrifice and about death and about the battlefield whereabout of Ammunition Hill. I'm going to talk to you about values, about the widest common denominator that we share from the both sides of the globe. 53 years ago, something happened, a 6-day war. It is a very famous war and we keep on talking about it. You need to understand that we are talking about something that not even one nation in the modern era could achieve. Within 6 days, Israel nation collided against 4 Arab armies and against all odds came out victorious. In this hill, the paratroopers made the pivotal battle that led the entire nation to reunite with the Holy Mountain, with the Western Wall, with the Jewish quarters. And I'm going to share some of the stories with you. When you come to Israel, you can see the IDF soldiers all over the streets of Israel wearing uniforms. They are indeed one of the best armies in the world, but they are not enough to collide against 4 Arab armies. Whenever a full-scale war falls on our heads, we need to summon the reservists. 80% of the fighting units are the reservists. Who are they? Carpenters, grocery shop owners, lecturers, fresh grooms, rabbis, students who have to make time and again when the army needs them, when the nation needs them, this shifting their mind. When this knock on the door is coming, we need you for the greater good, these guys have to go and leave their families, their careers, their wives, their newborn sons. One of them was my father, Captain Rami Wald, the late Captain Rami Wald. He was a carpenter, he was 32 years old. And I'm going to talk to you today about a lifetime of me trying to understand the minute my father had to leave me. I asked myself, where did he bring all these values? Camaraderie, commitment to a mission, loyalty, creativity, brotherhood. Does it come with the ranks? Does it come with the uniforms? Until today, we have here 300 meters of trenches and 40 bunkers, well preserved, intact, exactly as they were 53 years ago, when 120 paratroopers stormed to this hill against 120 Jordanian soldiers from the elite commander units of King Hussein. Israel nation was now facing 3 fronts: Golan Heights against the Syrians, Sinai Peninsula against the Egyptians, and the long border against the Jordanians, when the peak of the efforts was Jerusalem. The paratroopers had no intelligence, no maps. They did not know that the people that are waiting for them are that experienced. They knew these trenches like the palm of their hands. Nevertheless, 4.5 hours, 5th of June 1967, they came out victorious against all odds. You guys, this is my childhood playground. I was running here in the trenches at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8 without understanding what does the notion of the words like war, Jerusalem, Zionism, death, the notion of the word father. I lost my own dear father over here. I did not know my father. I was 10 months when he had to leave me and my mother. Any war, any big war, any triumph eventually is being done, achieved by the person, by the human being. And I can tell you that the liberators of Jerusalem we are going to relate to today were not gods upon earth. They were afraid, they made mistakes. They implemented amazing values that we stand for today. The best way to commemorate their deeds is to talk about camaraderie and bravery and leadership of human beings, not of soldiers, because we are a Jewish nation. We worship life and peace and not death and sacrifice. And this is the way we mediate the story today here. I can tell you for hours, each meter, who jumped on the hand grenade, who lost his life and how. It is important, but for this conversation, before the liberation of Jerusalem that we are going to celebrate in a very short while, The importance is to understand the heart of our nation, and this is going to be my focus today. And now I'm going to try to connect the dots. And I'm going to do it through the underground layer of Ammunition Hill. Underneath the trenches and the bunkers, we have the underground bunker of the Jordanians. Now, thanks to the JNF efforts, we have a very, very beautiful, impressive, state-of-the-art modern museum that will help me to tell you the story in the most vivid and creative way. If you are interested, please follow me.
I think there's a couple of minutes more of this movie, but I will carry on from now. Nothing will replace you being there with us, seeing the places that we built the past 12 years. And indeed, the liberators of Jerusalem did something remarkable at the end of the war. They decided to approach the families. And later on, I will tell you how we connected at the age of 40 to the overall story. But to reach the resolution I'm aiming for, once again, I want to share with you Captain Rami Wald, my father, my dear old father. 2 weeks before the war started, he was a carpenter. He was the love of the life of my mother. He was a proud father to a newborn son, but he was also a combat engineer specialist of the Paratroopers Corps, and he was needed 2 weeks of preparations. And these are you see the uniforms behind me. This is his uniforms, a special camouflage became part of who they are. Before the war was supposed to start, the paratroopers were in a special place in the orchards of the city of Rehovot, south of Tel Aviv. And when my father, being a senior captain, he knew one of the first guys, he knew they are going to war. And he did something remarkable that I want to share with you. They had 5 hours of preparations, but in Israel, everything is so squeezed, it's so small. So he decided to seize the moment. And before getting ready, he took a jeep along with 2 of his friends, soldiers, and he drove 20 minutes to the apartment of my grandfather and grandmother. As I told you, Israel nation, people were terrified. So my mother and myself left the apartment and went to live with my grandfather and grandmother. My father knew this, and he decided to say goodbye. And my mother said to me, out of nowhere, your father pops up with his friends. He didn't give any explanation. He took you in his arms and he sniffed your head like he loved to do so much. And he took you to your grandfather. And my grandfather told me, your father approaches me with you in his hands. And he gave you to me, saying to me, guard my son. I understood he wanted to say something, but he couldn't say anything. It was a secret. They are going to war. They are being deployed to Jerusalem in 120 buses, 2,000 paratroopers. They did not know they're going to create a miracle 2 days afterwards. They did not know they're going to be part of history 2.5 days afterwards. But this minute, when my father decided to leave everything and say goodbye, taught me a beautiful lesson, that they were not gods upon earth. Again and again, I will tell you about them, because I'm talking about the Israel nation. We will fight for our liberty, for our freedom, for our lives, but this is not Sparta. We do not breed and raise our fighters to become martyrs. We do not worship death and war. We worship peace and life. I will never know if I was an asset on the shoulders of my father, if he remembered me and thought about me when he rushed towards the bullets and the minefields. Was I a burden? I don't know. But this is part of who we are, and he decided to say goodbye. And this is the last photo I have from my father. He went to war. At the end of this night, he was dead. Now, the beginning of my life, we owe so much. You can see Kacha just told about him. We owe so much as families, bereaved families, as a nation, to these guys. The liberators of Jerusalem were all reservists. And when the war ended, everybody was pointing at them. They were in the heart of the celebrations, and people were admiring the liberators of Jerusalem. But the nation as a nation, The Minister of Defense, the army could not deal with the bereaved families. And the only guys who decided spontaneously they are going to deal immediately with the families of their friends, of their brothers, are the paratroopers. They met a day after the war ended at the apartment of Dr. King, the admired doctor of the brigade. They all saluted him and admired him. Him and his medics and doctors saved lives 2 and 3 and 4 days ago, and they divided the families between themselves. And you need to understand 100 paratroopers were already a big loss of a big family. These guys that you see on the pictures here, on the photos here, knew each other, some of them from the Palmach, from the Haganah, from the 48 Independence War, from the 56 Sinai War, from the kibbutzes, from the fields. The wives knew each other, the parents knew each other. They couldn't do anything else. And a day afterwards, there was a knock on the door of my mother and father apartment. My father was dead 4 days already. And 10 salt of the earth, amazing, beautiful bunch of guys, now civilians once again, stepped inside. My mother, she hardly remembers anything. She was in a state of shock. She lost the love of her life. I was a 10-month baby. What do I know? And they said to me, they pointed at me and said to my mother in so many words, maybe Alonchik, which is my nickname, lost a father. Here, 10 guys, fathers, uncles, you name it, he will never step alone anymore. We are here for you. Now, these words, this vow, this promise resonated in dozens of other houses, apartments all over Israel. They came to the bereaved families who are all in a state of shock, saying to them, we are here for you. And while doing this spontaneous, amazing gesture, they gave me something amazing to share with you, showing us that all the amazing values that these guys implemented during the war, camaraderie, bravery, leadership, commitment to a mission, loyalty to their friends and their nation, do not belong only to wartime, do not belong only to the paratroopers or to the army. They belong to human beings who choose to do so. And this is an amazing lesson we implement on a daily basis while we educate people, students, youth from all over the world and from Israel, that these values belong to them, they belong to you, my listeners from all over Australia. It's part of you, and you can choose to become heroes tomorrow morning without waiting for wartime or sacrificing your life. And indeed, about 53 years of my life, let's talk about the beginning. I was raised on the laps of these guys. I collected from them, imitating them, how might my father look like? Small gestures, mimics, values, beliefs. They were as close to a father figure that I could possibly imagine to myself. I wanted to know my father. He left me such an amazing legacy, but such a big gap in my life. Through them, I created the puzzle of my father, same as all of my brothers and sisters forever, the orphans of Ammunition Hill and the 55th Brigade. And they were one heck of a bunch of fellas to be related to. It came to the resolution of, you need at elementary school to bring every now and then your parents, your father, to talk about his interesting career. 3 classes in Rishon LeZion Elementary School. I was the only one without a father. But there was a joke in my class. How lucky you are. Every year you bring somebody amazing. What will you bring us next year? You have 10 options. We only have one father. Some sort of a comfort, but these are my memories. I was very proud of them. They came with me to the cemetery, bar mitzvah, they were there for me, weddings, going to the army. Whenever I needed them, they were there for me. And about 13 years ago, when I was 40, they called me and my brothers and sisters, and they said to us, mainly Katja, Alonchik, we are 80 years old. Tomorrow we are not here anymore. You heard the stories, the exaggerations, the myth. You know how to share this story on the new media in English. Please come under the stretcher, the way they say it until today. And it is some sort of a request from some sort of a father you cannot say no to. You do not want to say no to. And about 13 years ago, we came once again to our childhood playground, as I said, mentioned before, and decided that it is enough time to talk only about the battlefield whereabout and about the death. If I really want to reveal to you who are these guys, the life and the dead and the fallen, we need to open them to the full extent as human beings, as family members, as civilians, because this is the way we should cherish them, because embedded in each and every one of you guys listening to me are already all the roots, all the things you need to become brave and leaders and inspiring people, to your friends, to your families, to your nation. You only need to believe in yourself. And indeed, I can tell you very proudly that we are hosting them on a daily basis. They are there at Ammunition Hill, giving their lectures, their stories, their memoirs. But in order to make a closure to the overall story I'm going to talk about, there's another figure something happened. These are the miracles of the new media. I didn't touch anything, I promise you, but I hope I'm back. When we talk about values, and if I'm talking about values that do not stop in the trenches, another figure in my life that is well connected to the overall story is my mother. And in order to understand to the full extent what I'm trying to share with you as an Israeli, you need to understand that the Israel nation protect the bereaved families all along. But at the age of 17, I'm 53 years old now. I was 10 months when I started the story. Another age in my life, so important to share with you, the age of 17, when the army knocks on my door. Most of us go to the army. At the age of 17, what are you going to do? What do you wish to do at the army? Exams, letters, emails? Well, I wanted to be a paratrooper. I was raised by amazing idol figures. I was related to an amazing epic story. I wanted to be part of this. I wanted my fathers to be proud of me. I wanted to share the burden, and it's my time, it's my age, I'm ready, I want to do it. But there is a law implemented by the Ministry of Defense in Israel. If somebody from first relation dies in combat, his successor, it could be younger brother or son, cannot go by law to a combat fighting unit. And it is okay. I never urge people to go to be in a fighting unit. You can serve your nation by not going to the army. You can go to the army and be in the computers, medics, intelligence. I wanted to be a paratrooper, but the law prevented it from me. The only option for me to bypass this law is to approach my legal guardian. There is an annex in the law that allows our legal guardians of the bereaved families to sign a waiver to the nation saying, I know he paid a price. I know he does not have to do it, but nevertheless, this is the way he was raised to be who he is. It's on me. Take my son. You guys, 99% of the situations, the legal guardians are our private, humble, dear mothers that we appreciate so much. And at the age of 17, I couldn't understand what the hell I'm loading on the shoulders of my mothers. I understood it was on her. And I will never forget me confronting my mothers. Mommy, please, in other words, I didn't say to her, gamble your sanity in my life and sign this waiver to the nation. It happens every other month in Israel that a stupid, egoistic, I'm saying it with all the affection and the love, a guy or a girl, girls go to combat units nowadays from a bereaved families, needs to confront a mother. Mommy, please let me do what I need to do. Sometimes it's not conversation. Sometimes we offend our mothers. Sometimes we scream on them. I will hate you all my life. I will never speak to you ever again. Please sign the waiver. What do we know? I didn't scream on my mother, but I did manipulate her emotionally any way I can admit. And a mother that looks into her son's eyes in a situation like this, saying to him, do what you want to do, I'm going to sign the waiver. You need to understand what I know today. I didn't know then. She becomes this instant as brave as each and every one of the soldiers. I can talk to you for hours. Bravery is an asset, is a value. Do not stop in Israel on the borders or on the Ammunition Hill battlefield. It is going again and again until our doorstep, forcing our mothers, our wives, our sisters to be part of the overall story. But in order to understand to the full extent what is the heart of our nation and what do we stand for, in an unbelievable, hard, difficult situation like this, A mother that looks into her son's eyes, saying to him, hate me all your life. Do not speak to me ever again. I do not care. You'll be alive. I do not sign the waiver. She is as brave, you guys. I mentioned before, this is not a Spartan nation. We do not judge a mother that chose to say yes. We do not judge a mother that chose to say no. It's all the same. Same as one of my friends decided not to load on the mother anymore, anything else, and not go to the army. It is okay. We do not judge them. And this is what we are and what do we stand for. And I'm so proud to be able to convey this story to kids that are coming with special needs. And I'm telling a relatively fat boy who stands in front of me at the age of 16 with glasses like this, with asthma, saying to him, study well computers, mathematics. You can be useful to your nation. Do whatever you can do within your defaults or within your boundaries or difficulties. It's okay. I wanted to be a paratrooper. And indeed, when my mother was forced to go with me before I was the age of 18 to the army, a lawyer on behalf of the Ministry of Defense looked deep into my mother's eyes. He wanted to see that my mother's being of sound mind and body, not being intimidated or forced or manipulated. And he asked, Reginat, are you absolutely sure you know what you're doing? And my mother, with the jaws locked like this, you know your beloved ones. She hated every minute. She said yes. And she sent me to first 5 years in the army. She could not sleep very well. I ran as far away as I could. I wanted to be of service to my nation. And indeed, I did my part, became a paratrooper, elite command units of Sayeret Tzanchanim. I was from the founding crews of Magellan unit. We are the guys who are jumping behind enemy line with special lasers, targeting targets who do not know, beaming targets who do not know what hit them. I became part of the Secret Service. I was a security officer in charge of the Cairo embassy and then the Vienna embassy in Austria. Government requested the Air Marshal of El Al. I did my share. I ran as far away as I could because I wanted to know my father through any layer you could possibly imagine. And believe it or not, my father was here. All these years, his figure, his image, his legacy, he was my conscience, he was my power. And my fathers, each and every one of them, without even knowing it, were behind me, guarding me, guiding me. I needed their support so much. And to end the story before the Q&A, I'm going to reach the last thing, that only at the age of 40, when I came to Ammunition Hill and when I decided to open the story on behalf of the families in the second and the third generation, we received a budget, thanks to the efforts of the JNF and the Ministry of Defense, to create a 10-minute movie about our fathers. It was a good excuse for me to approach once again my uncles. Do you still have anything for my father that I can use in this updated version movie about him? And my uncle said to me, whoa, Alon, where were you all your life? There's a box for you. He went to his storage and he came back with a box, a very old wooden box. At the age of 40, I opened the box and I saw papers and I saw newspapers and passports and I saw many artifacts of my father and I saw some postcards. And one of the postcards is the thing I'm going to end, because this postcard was something that he wrote when he left the apartment, and his driver, who is alive until today, said to me, your father was very emotional when he left the apartment. He took out of his pocket his standard IDF postcard, and he wrote something to you. He had to do it. To my sweet and kind son and my love, surely it's in Hebrew, hello and many kisses. It seems to be that it's coming. It couldn't have been helped, and we must fight. I came over yesterday, but I couldn't say anything. Alon, be a man and take care of your mom, grandpa, and grandma. Meidele, how I used to call my mother. Be a fighter and take good care of everything and everyone until we shall return, and we will return fast. See you soon, and lots of kisses, Rami. This letter came to us 4 days after my father was killed. My mother was in a state of shock. I was a 10-month baby. My uncle saw this. He understood he cannot show it to my mother, and he forgot about it. And at the age of 40, the man which is sitting next to you, breaking his teeth and tongue in English, was crying like I was never crying before. Once again, he gave me an amazing lesson to share with you. They needed us. We are a whole big family. And my father was not a machine of war. He had to say goodbye. And this is the last farewell for my father. I really believe I took care of my mother. I was impacted by during the army. My mother is still alive until today. She's a proud grandmother, and she's the rock of my life. I love her. I adore her. She's part of the overall story. Surely I can talk for hours, but now if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening to me. And I hope to see you all sometime soon, either in Israel or in your turf. I'm at your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alon, for a wonderful and inspiring tour. I'm sure it's you can speak for a long time and speak about a lot of stories that you have to share. But for that, people needs to come to the Ammunition Hill and meet you and hear your stories. You know that as part of my job here in Australia in education at JNF, it's our main job is to inspire the community, inspire the students, teachers, people in the community about the love and share about Israel. And as you know, in the last 3 years, we brought 202 educators, teachers from all around Australia, from 30 schools, Jews and non-Jews. We brought them to Israel for 10 days tour. And one of the places that we took them was Ammunition Hill, and we met you. And my question for you, Alon, is every time we go out from there, every teacher, doesn't matter if you're Jewish or non-Jewish, they get so inspired. They have tears in their eyes, and they say, we just love Israel. How can you explain that?
This was a decision we made about 13 years ago. We decided to approach and to seek the widest common denominator. I cannot bring my father to being alive again, but I can try. I cannot change the arguments about the battle over Ammunition Hill, what happened the past 50 years of the political disputes over Jerusalem and the Middle East. I'm too small. But while taking the widest common denominator of values, everybody can relate to it, regardless of his age or gender, if he's a Gentile or Jewish people. If I talk about bravery, everybody can relate to it. And it became so successful that Ammunition Hill was elevated to an international level of a worthy site. Even the Ministry of Defense brings people, official missions to Ammunition Hill to understand who we are. But a miracle indeed happened when, after we signed the peace agreement with the Jordanians, something happened we didn't even anticipate. Because at the agreement, at the festival event, Prime Minister Rabin acquainted our Kacha to King Hussein. And King Hussein asked Kacha, what can I do for you? And Kacha, without even hesitating, said, if you really want to help me, bring the guys I fought against with to Ammunition Hill. I must make a closure. They say Rabin was red. It was not on the protocol. Nobody prepared for this, but King Hussein said, your wish is my command, in his beautiful English. And about, I think, 6 or 7 years ago, there was a meeting that nobody will ever forget, because these guys came to Ammunition Hill. They were all Bedouins with galabia and kafiot, with sticks. They came, hosted by the IDF Special Foreign Army, the delegations unit. They came to Ammunition Hill. And at the end of Ammunition Hill, my fathers and these guys met, and they relived the battle. They honored each other, and they gave us something that I will never forget. I don't know if you know it, one of the things we share there, talking about values that everybody can relate to, at the end of the battle, the paratroopers saw a pile of 17 brave, dead Jordanian soldiers in one of the corners. They understood they were shot in one section. They could not leave this place without paying homage to their rivals. And with spontaneous decision, they took shovels, they dig a shallow grave, they put everybody, all the 17 bodies inside, covered them, stuck an old carabine rifle of one of the officers of the Jordanians, and they wrote, buried here are 17 brave Jordanian soldiers, Army of Israel, June 1967. It was not a protocol, it was not pre-decided, not an order, but you know the Middle East. Here they trade bodies, body parts. They humiliate captives. And the Jordanians themselves told us, that will never forget what the friends of my father did on their behalf. This shows the world that we are talking about moral codes which need to inspire others. So now on an annual basis, the Jordanians are coming, evangelists are coming, people from all over the world. I was privileged to lead a mission of NYPD police officers. This is part of the success, and this is something we didn't plan, and it's happening on a daily basis.
Thank you, Alon. So now we go to the Q&A. We have a few questions from all around Australia. It's very exciting. So Dalit is asking, Alon, when you lecture today soldiers, what are the 3 core values you choose to tell them are the main takeaways from this battle?
Wow, there are so many, and it really depends on the unit itself. We never take a group that is coming for granted. We are asking, questioning the commanding officer, the educator officers, who are these guys? What is the level of their education? Where are they coming from? Either from the front, the Gaza envelope, the north. If they are commanding officers, I will talk to them about leadership, about bravery, and about sanctity of life. I do not choose only 3. Each time it's different. It could be high school kids, it could be veterans. I will choose it specially tailor-made for the group that is coming, because we have so many of these values, about 12 core values. We can talk for days with these guys. So it's nothing more important than the other. They're all the same, but sometimes the resolution of a given group will make a difference.
Thank you. David is asking, did your children serve in the army?
Sure. I have 3 daughters. Noam, who is 27, she was in the intelligence. She was a security officer of El Al, and she was in Milan, Italy, asking all the questions to passenger, did you pack yourself? Her sister, she's 25, she was still a reservist officer, guarding our borders from the south. The little one, she's 16, she is keen to go to the army. They say to me she's going to be the chief of staff. Very feminine, all 3 of them, but they will serve the nation. They keep on doing the best they do for the nation. They know their grandfather's legacy, and they are proud of it.
Very good. Another question from Perth. When are you coming to Australia?
Yesterday. I really want to come. There's so much more to tell you, and I'm bringing so many things with me. I will come. I'm committed to do it. And your guys from JNF will surely make me very, very busy. I am at your service.
Another question from Victoria, asking, doing your tours, doing groups or coming to Israel, do you have many groups that are not Jewish, coming from Arab countries?
Yes, sure. Not many of them, but they are coming. Very hesitative at the beginning. 4 or 5 years ago, they started to come. Bedouins, Druze, for surely we are bringing them. Jordanians. The fighters are coming on an annual basis, but every other month comes a mission from Jordan. There could be intellectuals, academy researchers, there could be high-ranking officers. They are coming incognito, do not wear any uniforms, but they are coming. Our new museum is speaking 6 languages. One of them is Arabic. Every sign we are building, every new sign at Ammunition Hill will carry also Arabic, because we really want to share with them. I don't know if you know it, half of the labor, half of the workers of Ammunition Hill are workers from East Jerusalem. Our brothers, our friends, we love each other, we coexist amazingly.
That's great. Okay, so Stanley Khan is asking, Alon, thank you very much. Could the IDF take over the old city and the Kotel without taking control over the Ammunition Hill?
Do you have an hour for this answer? Great answer indeed. There were many researchers. They could not do it. They would lose a lot of casualties if they would isolate this place, because it's a very low ridge. Whoever controls this hill controls the path to Ramallah, to Jericho, to Jaffa, to Mount Scopus, and to the old city. This is something that General Allenby understood when he took over this place as a strategically located place. This is what King Hussein generals understood, and this is what our Central Command understood, while saying to them, we are not going to bypass this place and risking our guys with snipers and artillery. We know it today. If you will come to Ammunition Hill, I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. They decided to take it over. They did something else. They broke the front of the elite commander units, and the message that when they ran back towards Mount Scopus, they said to the Central Command, the Jordanians, we do not know what's happening here. These are not normal soldiers. The guys who attacked us against all odds broke us. This was something that the assault at Ammunition Hill created something that broke the front of the Jordanians, and even indirectly supported the overall efforts.
Wow, Alon, this is amazing. I'm sure you can speak for hours. I can just tell you, probably you're very focused doing your presentation. You can't really see all the chat. There's hundreds of people watching you right now. We will also make sure that this presentation will be on Facebook, and of course that if those people are watching us now and never been in Ammunition Hill, or have been many years ago, if you want to go there, straight when the Australian government will open the borders to go overseas, contact please ask the JNF and of course the Alon to come and to be really inspired. So on the behalf of JNF Australia, we want really to thank you for this inspiring tour. And as we say in Ivrit, בשנה הבאה בירושלים הבנויה.
Amen ve'amen. And whenever you are interested in us, we will never feel alone. Israel will prevail thanks to your interest and your support, ongoing support. It is not taken for granted.
And of course, Alon, we shouldn't forget that this Friday we're celebrating Yom Yerushalayim, so it couldn't be a better chance to have this introduction for this special day. So again, toda rabba.
Thanks for having me.
Toda. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, yeah.